stop what you're doing, because the Chicago Bears are no longer just a good story. They're starting to look like a real problem. They won the NFC North, and somehow this offseason feels even more dangerous than the season that got them there. Ben Johnson is talking like a coach who knows the league hasn't seen the best version of his team yet, and if the rest of the division isn't nervous right now, they should be. The biggest reason starts with Caleb Williams. At the league owners' meetings, Ben Johnson said something that should make every defensive coordinator in football uncomfortable. Caleb is unpredictable. Not reckless, not wild. Unpredictable. There's a huge difference. Johnson basically admitted that even when the play call isn't perfect, even when the scheme doesn't win, even when the coaching staff guesses wrong, Caleb can erase mistakes with raw talent. That is the kind of quarterback coaches dream about and defenses hate. And this isn't some rookie experiment anymore. Caleb is entering his third NFL season and, more importantly, his first full offseason with complete command of the offense. After throwing for 942 yards and 27 touchdowns, the scary part isn't what he already did. It's what Johnson clearly believes is coming next. And if you think this is only about the quarterback, think again. Chicago isn't just developing stars. It's becoming a destination. A Super Bowl champion just chose the Bears on a 3-year, $40 million deal because he believes in what is being built. Kobe Bryant arrived in Chicago with a championship resume, and Ben Johnson didn't hide how impressed he was. He said Bryant had a holy cow factor when they met, the kind of presence that jumps off the page before the player even steps on the field. That matters. Great teams don't just add talent, they add people who raise the temperature in the building. Bryant appears to be that kind of addition. Then there's the culture shift, and this might be the most important part of the whole offseason. Players around the league are noticing something different in Chicago. Khalif Raymond looked at the Lions, looked at the Bears, and chose Ben Johnson's team without hesitation. That says a lot, especially considering his history in Detroit. Even more telling is what happened with a longtime Lions veteran. After a decade of loyalty, Taylor Decker was reportedly left in the dark by the organization he had given so much to. No real communication, no clear direction, just silence. And while Detroit drifted, Ben Johnson picked up the phone and checked on him. That one detail says everything. Players remember who values them. They remember who calls. They remember who leads. That leadership shows up in how Johnson talks after success. 2. Most coaches would spend the offseason celebrating a division title. Johnson did the opposite. He stood in front of reporters and publicly challenged his own offense. He said he wasn't satisfied with how the staff helped the primary receiver get open. Think about that. This was already one of the league's most explosive offenses, and the head coach still came away talking about what wasn't good enough. That is a championship mindset. It means the Bears aren't measuring themselves by what they accomplished. They're measuring themselves by what they left on the field. And when you look at the numbers, Johnson has a point. The Bears were near the top of the league in drops and led the NFL in dropped yardage. Too many big plays died in the air. Too many extended plays went unfinished. Rome Odunze left yards out there. Luther Burden had early inconsistency before heating up later in the year. Johnson also pointed to the scramble drill, where Caleb would buy time, but the receivers and quarterback weren't always reacting together. That's the terrifying thing for the rest of the league. Chicago was already dangerous, and it still wasn't clean. If they simply cut those mistakes down, this offense could jump from explosive to overwhelming. That's why Johnson has already made fundamentals the heartbeat of OTAs, catching the football, sharp timing, and getting back to basics before expanding everything else. Another key reason this offense might actually get better is the promotion of Press Taylor. When Declan Doyle left for Baltimore, some fans panicked. Losing an offensive coordinator after one season usually feels like bad news. But Johnson didn't go outside the building. He elevated Taylor, and the logic makes a ton of sense. Taylor brings real experience. He spent 3 years as the offensive coordinator in Jacksonville. He was in Philadelphia during the Eagles' Super Bowl run and was credited with designing the legendary Philly Special. He also helped create the flea flicker touchdown to Luther Burden against Dallas last season. Johnson called him the most organized coach he has ever worked with, and backup quarterback Tyson Bean praised Taylor's massive database of plays for virtually every defensive look imaginable. Most importantly, Taylor already knows Caleb. He knows the system. He knows where the offense stalled and where it can explode. That continuity could be priceless. Of course, every contender has one area that keeps fans staring at the ceiling at night. And for the Bears, that may be left tackle. Johnson was honest about it. All options are on the table. That kind of answer tells you the team is not pretending to have a long-term solution locked in. The uncertainty starts with Ozzy Trapo's patellar tendon injury, which is one of the hardest injuries for a lineman to come back from. If he gives them anything this season, great. But the Bears clearly can't build their plan around that hope. Braxton Jones is the current frontrunner, and Johnson said he looks transformed, now up around 310 pounds. That is a major development. Jedrick Wills is also in the mix as a reclamation project. But Chicago is clearly doing homework on the draft class. 2. If the right tackle prospect is there at pick 25, don't be shocked if Ryan Poles pulls the trigger. And that brings us to one of the most fascinating parts of this offseason, the draft board. The Bears are sitting at 25, and Ty Simpson's rise could create a huge opportunity. As quarterback-needy teams get more desperate, Chicago may find itself holding one of the most valuable spots in the first round. Simpson put up 567 yards, 28 touchdowns, and only 5 interceptions while completing 5% of his passes, and his name is gaining serious momentum. That matters because the Bears already have their quarterback. They don't need to force anything. If a team wants to come up for Simpson, Poles could slide back a few spots and load up on extra picks, just like the Texans did in a similar spot last year. That's the beauty of strong roster construction. When you aren't desperate, other teams can become your opportunity. Meanwhile, the defense is being rebuilt with purpose. Chicago went into the offseason needing a reset at safety, and Bryant gives them exactly the kind of tone-setting player they needed. He's 26, in his prime, coming off a season with 66 tackles and 4 interceptions on a championship defense. But the reaction from Seattle may have said even more than the production. Reports indicated the Seahawks were furious to lose him. That's always a good sign. You know you got somebody when a championship organization is upset to see him walk out the door. Bryant's versatility, playmaking, and edge fit what the Bears want to become. He's not just filling a spot, he's part of an identity. And that identity is growing stronger because the core is coming back. Caleb Williams is back. The running game is back. 4 of the 5 Week 1 offensive linemen are back. Rome Odunze and Luther Burden are both another year older, another year sharper, and far more comfortable. Colston Loveland enters his second season after flashing serious upside late last year. Last offseason, key players missed valuable work because of injuries. This time, they should get that chemistry building time from the very start. Yes, there were departures. DJ Moore is gone after being moved to Buffalo, and center Drew Dolman retired. But Johnson seems to believe the offense can begin this season much further ahead than it did a year ago, when it took until after the bye week to really find its rhythm. And maybe the most important thing Johnson said all offseason was this: the Bears will be hyper-vigilant against complacency. He enjoyed hearing about last season for about a week, then he was done with it. That tells you everything. This team is not trying to defend a memory, it's trying to build a future. The Bears have their quarterback, they have their coach, they have a tougher culture, a sharper standard, and a roster that still has room to grow. The NFC North better be ready, because Chicago isn't celebrating what it already did. It's coming for what's next.